mental health. Those are all terms that have become popular in this decade. But like so much of the cliches that surround them, whether it be pro-clutching or virtue signaling, they're spoken of, spoken to, but little is done about. So it became clear to us that it was important that we take the conversations about Ms. LaRoche's business, Essential Embrace, and take it one step further and create, or what she's created, is something called an Essential Exchange. And we'll talk more about that as the show goes on, but we want to continue the conversation about Essential Embrace and what type of services it offers and what it can do for individual workers in the community and the community at large. And then we'll morph into a conversation about the mission going forward of Essential Exchange. Natalie LaRoche again joins us. She is a longtime mental health care professional who has worked literally boots on the ground in some of the most challenging environments during the height of the COVID pandemic, and found herself as yet another, and I will never use the V victim word with people like Ms. LaRoche or any of them, because quite frankly, they are warriors. They are warriors who have been unfairly stolen from by a failed government who again seeks its own self-perpetuation and thinks little other than, if you will, tossaways and rhetoric about the community that they've left behind. Natalie, thanks again for joining us, and why don't we just dive right in and pick up exactly where we left off last week. And we were about to begin a real in-depth conversation about what Essential Embrace means as a business and what it's got the potential to offer the community. And then, like I said, we'll segue into a conversation about the larger environment that you're working to create, which is Essential Exchange.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Thanks for having me back, Pat. It's been a long week, and
It has.
so we talked. I'm exhausted. So last week we talked, and I had told you that what started out as a simple Facebook support group had grown sort of into a makeshift organization within not even a week and a half or so. Meaning, I was contacted by different people, and asked like, "Hey, I have a nonprofit. Could I support this cause and fund some programs?" And then also partnered up with so that's IHS, Integrative Healthcare Solutions. That's the nonprofit that is helping to fund our programs. And then also she works with Rafa Yoga and Urban Sweat in Cranston. And so we, were able to partner up with them, and through her gracious funds, support our members in, offering some free yoga classes. We have the online support group where, I check in with people, do polls. We started to run some groups. So I'm also working with another consultant, clinician type person where, we just kind of get people together to just talk. Like right now, I think people just need to not be divided, right? We just keep being separated by COVID and masks and mandates and everything else. And it's a time when people really need to come together to just, communicate and to just socialize and to feel normal. So that's kind of what we've been doing. We just kind of like kicked it off. We sometimes do like wake and walks, we call them, where we might go meet at a park or virtually online, depending on who's where. And just to get, them again, doing some things they're good for their self-care, right? Getting them out of the house, maybe in the sun, walking, exercising, things like that. And we're going to continue to grow. I mean, we literally on the 23rd just hit our 1 month mark, and we have like hit the ground running. Already IHS had already received a $10,000 grant, which again is funding our programs. And that money was awarded, but kind of hasn't hit the account yet. But when it does, we're already looking at building a calendar of events for November, and then we'll do it again for December. And that looks like, again, some free yoga and some free groups for people. as far as like social mental health, well-being groups. We're going to plan to offer a whole bunch more that includes everything holistic. So, when you're talking about self-care, some people meditate, some people do yoga, some people do other exercise things. And then we're also going to put in the component of nutrition. And the fact that I'm a mental health worker, but also have a master's in applied behavior analysis, I'm starting to gather some data and information to show like kind of the baseline. Like right now, people are really struggling, right? Some are depressed, very stressed, anxious, and things like that. So I begin to put that information together, and then we offer, say, a yoga class in a group after, and then we ask them, okay, so how are you feeling before this? And then how are you feeling now, that you were involved in this? And we're going to take all that data and, gauge it to see how effective our programs are. And also, I'm sure it will help us to get further funding. And we just, it's grassroots. It's, just like I said, hit the ground running, and we're just going full force ahead, and we're believing that lots of blessings and lots of good things are going to come our way. The members seem to be very happy. Our group, I don't even know what we said it was at last week, but it is well over like 170 now. And like I've kind of stopped inviting, but people are referring people. I actually had a woman who was in my coaching group who is a COVID long hauler. I don't know if you know what that means.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So she's in my coaching group. She joined this group. She's a former nurse, and she's not getting any support. She can't work. She has all the symptoms from fatigue to, daily pain, confusion, brain fog, and she cannot get disability. She cannot get unemployment, nothing. And I don't understand because, if she went out and got meningitis or, something else, she would have got something. So she actually just referred a bunch of Maryland nurses. So now we not only have, as far as I know we have mostly Rhode Island, but we do have Massachusetts and Connecticut people as well. And again, the group it was originally to get people together who were pretty much healthcare workers, maybe frontline workers in the mandate groups who were not planning on being vaccinated, and were probably going to lose their job. What it has turned into, because my thought again was the whole, we're so divided, right? So if I just offer that, then we're going to continue to be divided. So I offered it to everybody. So it's essential workers, right? So it could be first responders, it could be EMT, fire, police, healthcare directly, whatever, nurses, doctors, mental health workers. It is vaxxed and not vaxxed, okay? And it is also working and not working, and those that are displaced or have chose to leave their job because they didn't, just didn't agree with the mandate. So it's a good mix of a lot of people. And I have to say, it's a very comfortable community, like there's not the bashing, there's not the judgment, like, oh, you caved, or, why did you do that? It's just, that's not like allowed in the group. Politics are not allowed in the group because that's in all the other groups. And I wanted this to kind of be like that, that refuge, that safe place where people aren't judged, feel comfortable, and they can actually deal with their anxiety, depression, anger. There's all kinds of things going on. We were talking in our group last Friday, and one of the women was like, I'm just so angry, and then another one was saying how she was depressed. And I kind of explained to them, like, a loss is a loss, right? It doesn't matter if you actually lost a loved one, or you lost a job, or you got divorced. Like, you still go through the same stages. So those are some of the things that we talk about and we go over, and then give some coping strategies, and then offer some coping strategies again through our free programs.
If I can ask you just sort of a probing question here, do you, as someone who's a mental health professional, do you feel like that these problems have always existed within the medical community? These needs, these shortages, this lack, this support, and COVID just simply both exacerbated them and brought them to the surface?
Absolutely. I think I might have touched a little bit on that last week. I'm not sure, but I've been in a lot of different, I guess, industries within the mental health, behavior, social work kind of, field, from public schools to private schools. Always like therapeutic behaviors, from early intervention to alternative learning programs for high school students that, couldn't stay in the regular school because of their behaviors, or, different things. And what I found is, this is the other side of my hat, is I really love like leadership and like organizational development. And that comes from a real dissatisfaction and, like I said, some disheartening stuff I think I talked about last week that goes on when you're supposed to be like protecting these patients, right? You're supposed to be doing what's right by them and helping them to make the best decisions and advocating for them, right? And the same thing with the schools and early intervention and things like that. What I found was, I think you had said it earlier, it becomes about like the numbers. It becomes about like the insurance. It becomes the funding, which I understand that has to be part of it, right? Or you're not going to have a program. But I think all these organizations get lost in that, and it becomes about everything else but that. And because I am highly empathetic and like a very ethical person, that doesn't sit well with me. It never did. To the point where, I've advocated and lost jobs over it, and I get that from my mom. She did the same thing working with the mental health population as well. She started out at LAD, and then she went to group homes, and after 26 years with the state, they got rid of her, because she put her foot down, she stood up and challenged, the status quo. And that's not usually looked upon very well. Unfortunately, it's a sad truth, but it's what I've seen over and over again.
No, and fear of backlash, fear.
Yeah.
It's quite frankly, our willingness as Rhode Islanders to accept bare mediocrity from a government in which we, quote unquote, I'll using their term, invest so much and depend on, sadly, for so much, our rate of return for our investment is poor. And I'm not just talking about financially, but on virtually every other level. And that's despite some of the best efforts of a lot of wonderful people. I've gotten to know a lot of people in state government over the last couple of years, and many of them are passionate about their jobs and do the best they can. But ultimately, when, I think the term is the fish rots from the head. When you have that constant political turnover of self-aggrandizing, self-enriching, self-supporting, myopic absence of any worldview, this is what happens. State government represents really the 1%. There's the top key of them are very well compensated, particularly political appointees, and the rest must suffer in silence and do as they're told. We see the results, and I can't imagine, just again, having worked for 5 or 6 years of my life in a hospital environment under normal pressures, what that must have been like. And yet the workload, by the way, and I love your reaction to this. It just occurred to me. Years ago, there was after one of the recessions, there was a business magazine, it was Fortune, I think, that had posted this question as part of an advertisement, incredibly enough, and they said, about the downsizing, who's better off, the people left or the people left behind? And
exactly,
you've got this dual set of pressures. On one hand, you've got the people who are forced to leave, who now face uncertainty about their unemployment compensation. They face uncertainty about their life and their careers and their direction and where this will go, if they've really truly lost their license to practice in the long term. When does the mandate end, if ever? And are these vaccinations? I'm looking at one article today that's talking about a once-a-year booster. Hello? And these are, in a major publication, by the way. And then, of course, you've got the people left behind. And I don't know if we've spoken to them enough, because these are folks, a number of whom felt forced through circumstances to relinquish the control of their bodies over to a government. But also simultaneously, I mean, for the people that you know still know who work in the hospital environment, what is their workload right now, and what are the pressures on them right now?
So that's exactly why, Pat, I decided that this group needs to be for everybody because the mandate, COVID, the whole are you getting it? Are you not getting it? Are you staying? Are you going? Really incredibly divided people, like people who are friends for decades, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, just deciding to not even talk to somebody, to not acknowledge them, to be at work, and it was sort of like that. Well, we're all on this side, and you're over there because you decided not to get it. Like it's been insane, and incredible, and some of it is out of ignorance, some of it is out of fear, right? Because it's like, well, I don't want to be on your side of the fence because if I talk to you, you know what I mean. I need to be on this side to keep my job, right? So I decided this group needs to be for everybody because we need to be together. And so what's been beautiful is the groups that I've had after my yoga classes, or like on Friday we had our first kind of a social group emotional wellness session. And in both of those, we've had like a few of them now. We've had mixed. We have people who have gotten their vaccination, people who have not, people who are working, some people who are not working, some people who chose to leave, or some people who, like me, were displaced. And what I love about it is that we have all decided that it is about freedom of choice, right? So, Pat, if you decided that you didn't want to get it, I'm not going to judge you, right? I'm going to embrace your decision, and I'm going to support you as a human being and just be there with you and for you. Okay. So that's what we've been doing. And that's what needs to happen because the people who are left behind, I know what it's like because I was there during COVID, right? And we were short and we didn't have the proper PPE, and we had travel people coming in, and there were so many new people. You didn't even know who like half of the people in the ER were. And so it's only got to be worse now. So, and I have talked to a couple of them. I told you, there was one, that reached out to me, and exactly what you said. Like, I don't feel like I'm in control of my body. I'm so anxious. Now I'm wondering, is something going to happen to me after the fact, when I really didn't want to get it. Again, it's a lot of new workers there. It's like the survival guilt thing. Like, I'm here and a lot of my friends are gone and are struggling. A lot of people are mad, right? So they're just mad because people like me just chose to leave, right? Chose to like, I'm not going to, I'm not going to do that. Like that's not a choice for me, you know? And because they know, like if you have a good worker and they're going to leave, it's tough. It's tough because they're far and few in between. And so when you do have somebody who's really good, who's passionate about their job and who really cares about their patients or students or whatever it is, um, it's tough to replace them. And that was why when I started Essential Embrace, it was Essential Embrace because we are not disposable, right? Because we're not last year's heroes and this year's zeros. We're not trash. We're not useless. Okay, so that's how it started, and now I've kind of switched gears a little to just kind of be like community and connection because again, we all need to come together, not be divided, to stand as one, regardless of our decisions. And we really need to focus on the mental health, the well-being, the emotional support for all these people. I mean, if you think about it, like EMTs, like they go out and they scoop people up off of the pavement. They
Right.
firemen go out and cut people out of cars. Nurses do CPR and try to save people's lives. And you don't support them. You don't make sure they're okay. You don't send them to. I mean, that's traumatic. And yes, you get desensitized, right? And you get used to it. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't bother you or that you don't have, these moments where you break down or on top of everything else that's going on in life, it's just such a struggle. And then they work doubles and uh, more than doubles because of the shortage before COVID, and then during COVID, and now after the aftermath. There's a lot of statistics and stuff which like again, my group will be putting out there as far as the rise in mental health issues and how many new people have come forth and said, like healthcare workers, like for the first time, that they have a mental health issue. And those are only the people that came forward.
Right.
Statistically, people who get treated for mental health, it's not for 10 years. 10 years. Like, would you go, like, I had a toothache the last couple of weeks because I need a root canal. Would you go 10 days or 10 hours even with, this throbbing tooth that needs to be taken care of? Would you go, and I mean, some people do go, don't get their heart treated and end up having a heart attack or diabetes or whatever. But, a lot of times people go for annuals, right? People will go for
Right.
checkups. People will go for blood work to make sure they're okay if they're not feeling good. What do you do for mental health? Do you go for a regular checkup? Do you go and get blood work and see, do you get some kind of test to say, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Are you, I've been a mental health worker, again, in the behavioral field for 27 years. And I've been depressed and didn't know it. Because when you're in it, you don't see it. You're not aware. So that being said, I went and took mental health first aid to become an instructor to teach other people, just that, just like CPR, first aid, how do you recognize it? What are the symptoms? And how do you approach the person? When do you get them help? And, what do you do? What do you look for? How do you support them?
We've only got a few minutes left, and it's amazing how quickly a half hour or 45 minutes goes. People, when they come on all the time, they go, can I fill up an hour? Well, actually, most can. But let's talk about the exchange, because that's going to be the focus of your show. Your show goes live next Tuesday, 8 o'clock. It'll be, we say 8-ish, sometimes a couple minutes after. It's the internet, by the way, so there are always issues and challenges. But about 8 or a couple minutes after 8, every Wednesday night, you're going to talk about what? What are you going to bring to? I'm sorry, Tuesday night. Wow. Tuesday night.
I know.
It's been a long life. Tuesday at 8 o'clock ish, you're going to be going live, and so tell folks about what the essential exchange ultimately is going to offer through this regular programming.
Okay. So my idea is that essential embrace again is for that population, right? And it's kind of expanding a little bit on the population of who it can serve, right? And it will probably continue to grow and mutate and evolve over time. But as far as the show, when we had talked about it, I thought essential exchange, and the tagline is, there you go, because community and connection are essential, right? And so essential exchange, basically in my mind, is an exchange of information that is essential that people need to hear, right? And it's talking about mental health, it's talking about self-care, it's talking about lacks of support, like you said, in the workplace or just in general, and access to care, which is why we want to try to raise funds and do things virtually and offer free groups and stuff, because if you look at the statistics out there, there are not enough clinicians or programs like Butler, and Bradley and things like that to house all these people, to serve them, to do preventative maintenance so they don't end up at that place, right? And that's the thing. People think mental health is just a thing. It's like it's never going to go away. It's like I don't know, say like a deadly disease. Like they tell you you have cancer and that's it. You're a goner. Back in the day, yes, that's how it was. Is it now? No, there's a lot of treatments. And the same thing with mental health. There are a lot of things that a lot of people can do themselves for free. And that could be a lot of sensory things. Like I was just posting about it today. Some people were commenting on a post that I did and, talking about how they struggle, and every day is a struggle and they don't really know what to do. And I just kind of offered some simple solutions. I said, there's always simple solutions. The first is recognizing it and acknowledging like that you're maybe not in the best place. And if you're not, to start to do things to keep you, stable and to elevate your mood, to be able to kind of get out of that slow slide into that deep ditch. So that's just some of the things that we'll be talking about. And I made it essential exchange because I figured it's probably going to lead into a lot of other places. And I'm hoping that this is what happens, is that we start to explore all the things that people don't want to talk about. I've always kind of sort of went against the grain and, like I said, wanted to challenge the status quo as far as, why is nobody talking about it? Like, why are we not doing something to make it better? I was always just curious. I always wanted to learn. And it's like, why do people do what they do? Like, why do people act the way they act? Which is why I got into, psychology and educated myself in ABA and all these things, because some of it was personal, like, do people really have an issue and that's why they treat you like that? Or are they really just, can I say it? Assholes.
You're on the internet. All right. Let me check with corporate management. Yeah, you're good.
Good. So it's really hard to tell sometimes. It's really hard to tell. Like, say somebody who's like bipolar or has like mood disorders, like, are they being manipulative, or can they not help themselves? People saying like, oh, somebody's, just trying to get attention when they're suicidal and they're making statements. Does that happen? Yes. But there are so many more people out there who have daily thoughts of suicide, and some are worse than others. It's just kind of fleeting thoughts, or it's just like really deep, sad despair. Like, I just really don't want to be here. Not exactly that. And that's what mental health first aid teaches you as well. Just because somebody says, like, we have this zero tolerance policy, right? Where if somebody says anything, automatically they want to kill themselves and we need to like go put them in a facility. And that's not the case. It's really not. If they're saying stuff, you can say it's to get attention, but it's because they know they're not feeling right and they're trying to let somebody else know, and they don't know how else to do it. And so when you ask the better questions, when you learn how to approach these people and to ask those questions to get a real assessment of what it is that they're trying to accomplish or get help with, right? Because they don't even know a lot of times. So it's just it's nice to know and to hear that there are a lot of funding programs and a lot of hype right now around mental health and wellness and all that. My fear is, like you said, it's going to turn into, oh, I got this big grant and I have this money and I have to spend it. And is it going to be spent properly? Is it actually going to do the job that it needs to do? Or is it just going to be another one of those, okay, we have a program. It's there. We get the money. We're getting funding now for 5 years. And, it's really ineffective. I've seen that over and over and over again. And so I'm hoping and praying that Essential Embrace will be that new model of holistic health, looking at, mind, body, spirit, physical, mental, emotional, and really getting people better, not just putting them on medication after medication, and not just putting Band-Aids on things, but actually fixing the deep wounds that people have.
Well,
and
you said, I was going to say a heartfelt welcome to the family. It's interesting. The Coalition Radio Network, and we call it the Radio Network because it harkens back to our days as a single show on radio. Years ago, we were on AM radio. Started out largely political, and now we've got 3-4 shows which look to the personal. In addition to your show, tomorrow at 7 o'clock on Wednesdays, we have something called RAMP, which is Real Access Motivates Progress, and speaks to folks who have faced physical challenges and all the issues and support and products and lifestyle improvements they can realize that are out there. And Tina Peterson is the host, and she brings that to life. And then Meg, who has our dietary show, which is right before this, at 7 o'clock on Tuesdays, speaks again towards, food and health and how they can be married together in a healthy lifestyle. And then, of course, we got the Ultimate Health Self-Help Show, which is the golf dudes at Golf News RI. And when all else fails, they can try and help you with your golf game. So it's really rounded out very nicely. And then after this show this evening, we've got Irina Zuckerman hosts a foreign policy show that speaks to Southeast Asia and the Middle East, and a handful of other shows as well, including the Coalition News that goes on during the day. So we welcome you to the family. We're in for quite a ride. I think you're going to add tremendously to the qualities of people's lives, particularly, a year and a half, and I don't think we can gut ourselves way through this crisis anymore. There have been fundamental changes inflicted on many of our Rhode Island brothers and sisters and fathers and daughters and mothers and sons at every level, many of them self-inflicted, quite honestly. And the need is out there. And I'm grateful that you're taking the time to join us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And you had said something about COVID exasperating things, and it has. Yeah. And I want to say in some really good ways, because programs like this are coming about, and you have doctors and nurses and people who have been in the field forever who don't even want to be in the field, and they want to do their own thing, and they want to do a holistic thing, or they want to do it different because it needs to be. Excellent.
So take us home for tonight. Where can folks find you on the web currently?
So currently, if you are on Facebook, you can just look up Essential Embrace, and it'll bring you to the group that you can join. And like I said, right now it's for essential workers, and that kind of is a lot of different things, and it doesn't matter, vaxxed, unvaxxed, working, not working, displaced or whatever. It's a support group, and so you can invite other people there as well. And then, there'll be this show here, Essential Exchange, and a podcast kind of formation of it where, we'll put these episodes there that like we talked about, and then maybe I might do some other just little blurbs, like little 3 to 5 minute kind of self-care or mental health awareness type things for people who maybe don't have access or, aren't ready to step up or step forward or really aren't sure, like, do I have an issue or not? And then they might listen to an episode and go, oh my God, like, oh yeah, that's how I'm feeling. That's me. Maybe that's what's wrong. Maybe I need to seek some help for that.
Well, we're looking forward to it. So as far as this time segment goes, this is the last time I'm going to say goodnight for the Coalition. Starting next week at 8, maybe a couple minutes after, Essential Exchange, which is a outgrowth of Essential Embrace, will be occupying about a 45-minute or so section of your life. By the way, if you miss these shows, they will remain up on Facebook, and we will also put them on our YouTube and reshare them on our YouTube page with its own logo, its own identity. It'll be out there both on the Essential page as well as the Coalition page. So, they'll be out there, and we'll put together a playlist. It'll be easily accessible. So this will be not just a single point in time, a single conversation at a moment in time, but this will be the development of an ongoing set of references, if you will, that you, or if there's someone in your family who's looking to, deal with or address a certain issue, you'll be able to go back and look at these shows and say, okay, they spoke about this agency, they spoke about this service they were offering. That's what we can offer to the community as a representation of what the Coalition Radio Network is, which is community programming. We are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media, broadcasting live on the worldwide Coalition Radio Network at coalitionradionetwork.com, facebook.com/the Coalition Radio, on the mighty, mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio, and of course the mothership at coalitionradionetwork.com. Folks, if you could certainly like, share Natalie's page at Essential Embrace on the Facebook and all its other manifestations, which we'll be publishing, as well as the show, we'd be grateful. It helps us rise above, the noise that is generated by the mass of media that simply exists out there. We'd like to think we offer something a little different and very special. And of course, stay tuned at 9 o'clock, The Washington Outsider with host Irina Zuckerman. The number one guest at the beginning of every show is what part of the world she's in. 2 weeks ago, she was in Morocco. We have no idea where she is tonight. We'll find out, and she'll certainly give you a unique, really a boots-on-the-ground perspective on politics in the Middle East. Folks, stay tuned. Thank you for joining us tonight. Natalie, thank you for joining our family, And we'll see you all next week.
Pat, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk more.